Today we are going to answer this very special question, because today it's the 27th of January 2026, exactly 81 years ago since the Soviet Red Army liberated the Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp, which was the largest one that Germany had during World War II. First, before we start, we need to introduce the entire thing. The Holocaust was one of the worst genocides in history, resulting in 11 million deaths. The genocide was very famous for the extensive use of concentration and extermination camps. The second thing is Nazi Germany itself. The state was founded after the Nazi Party won the Reichstag election of 1932. Adolf Hitler, the leader of the party, became Chancellor of Germany. This party was very anti-Semitic. Early as 1935, the Nazi Party made up laws that made the life for Jews very difficult. This was only the start of a much worse thing. The state also became very expansionist. First, in 1936, Hitler ordered the invasion of Rhineland. 1938, Austria was annexed. Same thing with the Sudetenland some months later. In 1939, the whole of Czechia was annexed. Slovakia became a puppet state. On the 1st of September 1939, the German Wehrmacht invaded Poland, starting World War II. The Polish forces were overrun very bad. On the 17th of September, the Soviet Red Army invaded eastern Poland. At the beginning of October, the entire country was divided between the German-ruled general government and the Soviet Union. Several concentration camps were established, most of them were on the territory of the general government. Some territories were annexed directly to Germany. We begin with the first person, Hermann Göring. This was the second most powerful person behind Hitler. This guy is also known for being the architect behind the Gestapo, the German secret police. He was also the person who created the concentration camp system. He also helped Hitler to develop the final solution. This includes the introduction of extermination camps. After the war, he was put in trial in Nuremberg in 1946. He was sentenced to death by hanging. However, he committed suicide the day before the execution was supposed to happen. The next person is Heinrich Himmler, who was the head of the SS, Schutzstaffel. He was the person who ordered the construction of concentration camps, thereby executing the final solution. Himmler also formed the Einsatzgruppen, who killed many Jews primarily in the occupied territories of the Soviet Union. He was the person who oversaw the concentration camps. In April 1945, he was ripped of his power by Hitler. This happened after he attempted to open up peace negotiations with the Allies without Hitler being notified. He was eventually captured by British forces, but he committed suicide in custody and on the 23rd of May 1945 before he could be put on trial. This is the third person, Alfred Rosenberg. He was Reich Minister of the Eastern Territories. He was also a Nazi ideologist. Because he was in a position of being the chief of all occupied territories in the Soviet Union, he was responsible for the mass killings of Slavs and other groups. He was put in trial in Nuremberg 1946. Rosenberg was sentenced to death by hanging. He was executed on the 16th of October 1946. This was one of the most brutal Nazi politicians ever, Erich Koch. He was Reich Commissar in Ukraine between 1941 to 1944. He governed the territory with brutality. He was responsible for the mass killings of Ukrainian Jews. His brutality in Ukraine created a very bad reputation about the Germans from a Ukrainian perspective. Many groups who had been opposing the Soviet Union now fought against the Germans. They sabotaged supply lines and simply made logistics a nightmare for the German Wehrmacht. Even though he was responsible for such big crimes in Ukraine, these were not completely clarified. He was transferred from Britain to Poland. First, he was sentenced to death, but it was changed to life in prison for crimes that he committed in Poland. Here is the fifth person, Hans Frank. He was the general governor of Poland between 1939 to 1945. Because he ruled over the general government, he was thereby responsible for the Holocaust in large parts of Poland. That is a fact because many concentration camps were located in the territory of the general government. In 1941, when Germany invaded the Soviet Union, Galicia was given to Hans Frank. The Germans killed many Jewish and Polish civilians in the city of Lwów, modern-day Lviv, After the war, he was put in trial in Nuremberg, where he was found guilty on all accusations. Eventually, he was sentenced to death by hanging, and he was executed on the 16th of October 1946. This is one of the most infamous monsters of Nazi Germany, Rudolf Höss, who was the camp commandant of Auschwitz-Birkenau. By running this camp, he was responsible for over 1 million deaths in the camp. After the war, he was arrested and put in trial in Poland. He were tried in Poland and sentenced to death by hanging. The people wanted him to be executed in his own camp, which happened on the 16th of April 1947. This is the chief of the Oberkommando der Wehrmacht, Wilhelm Keitel. He was also a field marshal. The thing is that he ordered the execution of POWs, prisoners of war, which made him a war criminal. Keitel surrendered to the Soviet Marshal Zhukov in Berlin in May 1945. He was put in trial for war crimes in Nuremberg 1946. He was sentenced to death by hanging. On the 16th of October 1946, he was executed by hanging. This was the fascist dictator of Romania, Ion Antonescu, who seized power in 1940. His dream was to reconquer Bessarabia that were annexed by Soviet Union during the summer. During his reign, many anti-Semitic laws were signed. He was also a part of the Holocaust across Europe. In 1941, Romania invaded the Soviet Union. Romanian troops participated in the Second Battle of Kharkiv and Battle of Stalingrad in 1942. After a series of defeats in the Eastern Front and the Soviet Red Army closed into the Romanian borders, the King of Romania decided to order an arrest of Antonescu. Immediately after the depose of Antonescu, Romania switched side to the Allies. After the war, Antonescu were tried for war crimes and for participating in Operation Barbarossa, German invasion of the Soviet Union, in 1941. He was sentenced to death and executed in 1946. These were not all of the leaders, because otherwise, this video would have been too long. Don't forget to like and subscribe.